Alright, this is a video on core JavaScript, and this first video is just how to create the JavaScript file app.js and then link it to our index.html file so that we can be able to manipulate the document object model, which is the DOM. So JavaScript makes our web more interactive. How do we make sure that the code we write in the JavaScript is connected to the index.html? So that's what we're going to be doing now. We'll create an app.js file and then link this app.js file to the index.html file. So like I will always do, I'll start from the very beginning to create all the files that we need. So if you are new, you can also follow along. So first and foremost, I would like to create a folder. So you go to open folder. So when you go to open folder, at this point in time, I do not have any folder yet. So I can go to my YouTube channel and say that create new folder. Okay, create new folder, which I will call core.js, right? I'm going to call this folder core.js. Then I'm going to select the folder core.js. So I'm in the folder core.js, which is called JavaScript, of course. So like I said, always minimize it so that you will be in the folder that you want to work with. So I'm going to create an index.html file, a new file. So index, it must be in small letters, not capital letter. So index, so I have index.html, right? Then this is where we have our index.html, which is the front page. So in our core.js, we have index.html, and also we can add the favicon icon. Okay, favicon icon is the icon that we see when the icon bits hide the title. But anyways, let's do this first. Exclamation, and then so we can call this core.js, core JavaScript. Okay, so we need to create a fav icon, right? So we can add that to the head title. I should say relationship. That's bad. Header, link. Yeah, link. Relationship is no longer style sheet. We are not linking to CSS. So I want to link to the icon, so that I can get the fav icon. Now I need to download a fav icon, and then you could actually get a lot of icons from this website. This was free before, but for some reason it has increased. Oh, it's not working. So let's JavaScript icon. So let's use for JavaScript maybe logo. Okay, so let's download this SVG PNG. Let's save it as PNG. Free download. Okay, so let's go to core.js, and we cannot save it as .io, but let's see. Yeah, favicon.ico. Let's see if it worked. favicon.ico, so that when we in the reference link we can just put favicon.ico. So this means that even if anything is wrong with your site, and your icon will always be rendered. So this is the first thing that it's rendered on your page. So if you go to live server, we can actually see this. So you can see that the fav icon is at the top left. Okay, so you can see the fav icon here, right? Okay, so it took some time, but it was worth it. All right, so we have the index.html file, and we can just put a header in the body part, which you can see header 1. We can call this core JavaScript, of course, demonstrations. I call it demo or demonstration, it's up to you. So basically we want to create a JavaScript file. So we can in core.js, we can say app.js. These are conventional names, app. So if you want to create any file for JavaScript, you call it app, because if you are using React, you see a lot of these conventional names. So this is very important, because when you know the basics, when you are using React, you understand why some things are used. So app.js is nothing more than a JavaScript file. So we have the app.js, And so how do we reference the app.js? But first of all, we can put some code here. We can say we can log some code in the app.js. We can write some code there, right? So that when we run this code, we want to see it on our index.html. So we can say console.log. I always put a semicolon. I always put a semicolon at the end because I also write C# code, and so I'm used to the semicolons at the end of the brackets. Okay, so app.js, and then we can say hello world, which is the basic code. Hello world from JavaScript, apps JavaScript file. Okay, hello from JavaScript file, and we can also do console.log. Of course, the semicolon is not important for JavaScript, but like I said, I always like to have them. So I can say this is Victor. Okay, so if I save this, now on our index.html file, nothing happens. If you check the live server, we only have the core JavaScript header that we have, but the other message was not. So how do we know? When we inspect, click on inspect. Okay, I was too fast over there. So to inspect the page, you go to right click and then you go to inspect. So inspect, control 2, I need to bring this out. So we want to see if anything is on the console, if anything is logged to the console. Okay, but here there is nothing logged on the console. So index.html, nothing was logged. Okay, unchecked runtime. Okay, so probably something I did before now. Okay, so now let's link the JavaScript file to the HTML file. And how do we do this? Let's go back to the browser. So to do this, we just need to use the tag script. And so we go to the body. So at the bottom of the body, the last, so this should be the last thing at the body. So that will be script, call it script, and then okay. So there is nothing in between the tag. So you now put a source for the script. Source for the script to be what? So it's in the okay. So I'm supposed to create a folder in the app just for, you know, structure. So I can create a folder. Let me create a folder called JS so that I will know that all JavaScript related content are in JS. So I move the app folder into JS. Okay, so now the app.js is inside the JavaScript folder. So I can say that js/app.js so that the JavaScript file is linked to the app file. This is it. So that is all you need to do. And I save this, I go to my console. Okay, so we have hello world from JavaScript, and this is Victor, and if you see, it is from app.js. So this is very important. This is very important. So let me see. Okay, so this error that I was getting, I just had to type it into Stack Overflow because it is komisch. It is strange. So the reason is I disable all installed extension in Chrome works for me. So it is due to using extension or proxy VPN, disable them. Yeah, I use a lot of extensions, for instance, the UiPath extension. So, okay, so let's do this. Let's debug. If you go to Chrome extensions, you can just toggle each extensions one at a time and see which one is triggering the issue. So let's go to Chrome/extension, click on this. Why? So Chrome extension, let's see which one is causing the bala blue. So extensions, manage extensions. Okay, so I will take this over to the other side so that while I toggle, I could see what is happening. Okay, so let's see, toggle it back on. Okay, good. So this is what happened. Yeah, so this extension, Nelson Panelist and my UiPath extension were giving that error. So I had to toggle each of the extension off. So when I toggle this, and I refresh, so now we have it. Okay, so yeah, this is what programming is about. You have to get an error, search for the error on Google. You see, the first thing I did was not to go to GPT because GPT will give you a lot of garbage, and you have to know what you are doing first before you use ChatGPT, right? So yeah, so this is the message from the JavaScript file. So that means whenever I want to manipulate the document, we can actually have access to our index.html file. So this is all we have to do in this part. And yeah, because of the debugging, it took a while, but yeah. So try out this and let me know if you have any of these errors. And this is the first part of the core JavaScript. So go to the next video. After you watch this, just try it out and then go on and watch the next video. Okay, welcome back guys. So this video we're going to talk about the variables. So like you can see on the left hand side, we created our app.js file and we have our index.html file, right? So we linked our app.js file to our index file in the last video. So if you have not seen it, you can check it out. However, you could also continue this video if you want to learn about variables. So we're going to be talking about variables, constants, let, hoisting. So you're going to learn when to use let and when to use const. What are variables? So I can decide to clear up my screen now. So variables are actually what you use to store values, okay, and there are different data types. So in JavaScript is a dynamic programming, so it has inferred type. For instance, we can say declare a variable called test with the keyword var. So we can say var testing equal to 100, right? So semicolon. Okay, so if you see on the console at the right hand side, if you see on the console, at the right hand side, there is no output, right? However, if you don't know how to get to this output, I'm going to show you just a second on my second screen. So how do you get the console? Anyway, before that, let's see. So I want to see. So if I want to print out the value of testing, it is done using console log. I always use semicolon at the end, so that we can get 100, which is what we want to return, what we stored inside testing. So this is how variable happens. So for instance, you can say variable name, var name equals Victor. Okay, so Victor, and if I want to print out name, I could just say console.log name. It brings out Victor. So why is this name is deprecated? So we can say name is no longer in existence, so we can say first name. Okay, so we can let's say console log first name, right? And first name is not defined because of spelling. Okay, first name. All right, so first name is this. So you could see that there are some mistakes that happen, which is I want you to see how debugging happens and how you can also view your errors. So now why the mistake happened before was that Ctrl Z, you see first name and this first name, they are not the same thing because of here I had a capital N and here I have a small n. So in coding it is case sensitive. So and if from your error you see that first name is not defined, it means that in line 6, it means that from app.js file, it means that you have not defined this variable, you have not stored anything inside this variable. So before you call a variable or use it, you have to define or store values inside. Yeah, so you see that variables are used to store values, and this is one example that we just have to look at. Okay, so if you see that, so back to the constant testing that we said, so we can even do maths problems. You can say console.log, we can say testing plus testing. Okay, so this is going to give us 200, right? 200. But you know, in other programming languages, you have to define the data type. You have to define the data type that you want to use. So in other programming languages, this is not allowed. You have to define, okay, this is an integer, so you need to define int. But JavaScript is not like that. It is a dynamic programming. But the thing about var keyword is that 99% of the time you should not use var because of the fact that you could step on toes. Okay, so most of the times you should avoid using var. instead, there are two new keywords that you can use. So I'm going to comment this out. So to comment, there are two ways to comment. You could comment by line // so you comment line by line this way, or you could also comment, have a group comment, which is / asterisk, and then at the end of where you want to go, asterisk and backwards slash. Do you get it now? So we're going to look at the let variable. So let keyword. So the let also is used to declare variables. So we're going to be talking about scope in subsequent videos. So a let variable can actually be changed throughout the whole application. So you can just say let first name equals Victor. So in declaring string, you need to put semicolon, you need to put quotation at the top of the string. So if we now print console.log, we print console.log first name. So if we look at the output on the console, you have Victor, right? Console.log Victor. So the let, how does the let happen? The let happens, you can change the variable throughout the application. Remember that I've already stored Victor inside first name. So I can still use let to change what I stored in first name. So I can still say let first name equals Stella. Close this. Identifier first name has already been declared. Okay, let's say console.log. Okay, yeah, so we can, because identifier first name has already been declared, we don't need to use let again because we already declared first name. So here we can say first name equals to Stella, console.log first name. So now we have changed what we stored inside first name. We have changed it from Victor to Stella. So this is what let makes this possible. So you can change the value of the variable throughout the whole application when you use let. So, but the second keyword I want to look at is the const keyword. So it's more like constant. So when we use constant, the value of constant cannot be changed and cannot be reassigned throughout the application. So you could say, let's say const age is equal to 31, right? So that means anywhere I print console.log, I want to print age to the console. If I print age console, you see that it's 31. So because I use const, I cannot change it anymore. I cannot say age equals 24. It's going to throw an error because I have already assigned a particular 31 to age, right? So assignment, if you see the error, message, assignments to constant variables. So constants are used for your for variables that you ensure that they are not going to change throughout the application. But then when you want to use variables that would change at some point, to use let, but don't use var because of the dynamism that come with var. So always use let and const. So there's one mistake that you should avoid. So you can't say const, difference between const and let, another difference between const and let. You can't say const tax number now, const tax number, and just declare and not assign. So this is not possible, but you can do it with let. You can say let, okay, so let tax number. So you can use let to initialize or create your variable, but you cannot use const, because what is the point of saying something is const and you didn't give it a value? So it doesn't work like that way. So once you set the value for const, you cannot change it. So the question now is, which one should you use? Should I use let? Should I use let or should I use const? As a general rule of thumb, if something is designed never to change, use constant. For instance, you are getting a file, getting input from a user, their age. So this is defined, this is set never to change. So use const. But when some variables will change in the application, then you can use let. All right. So now let's look at the concepts of other variables that you can see. So we can even use number. Want to declare variables, you can use we can say let text string. So we can store numbers. Okay, this is for string. Let text string equals to, this is a string, right? This is a string. So I'm going to copy, because I type a lot of console.log, so I should copy this. But for practice, you need to keep typing it and then you get used to it, right? So okay, so if we print text string on the console, we should have, this is a text string. So this means that we stored a text data in this variable name called text string. And if we want to say let's text number, so we can also store text in this text number, in this text number. Let's say 123456956. Okay, so if I want to print the test number, I can do console.log. What I did, I just copy and paste there, test number. So my IntelliSense is helping me, so I can do a tab. All right, so this is test number. Also, you can also do boolean. Let test boolean. So this is just a variable name equals true. So we are saving a boolean. Boolean means yes or no. So let's test boolean equals true. And if we print console.log test boolean, then it prints the true value. So this code will be available in the GitHub repository, so you can download it and play with it. All right, so now let's look at the idea of hoisting. What does it mean? So if you understand, hoisting is gonna be, I'm gonna comment this out. Okay, let me use this multiple line comments is this way. So I've commented all those out, right? So now the idea of hoisting means, yeah, I will have to show you for me to explain this. Okay, you can say something like this: I, a variable called I, is equal to 10, right? And then you went down some lines and say I is equal to 15, right? And then you print console.log I. Okay, so so we have 15, and then let me comment out these guys so that we can, all right, that's enough. Okay, so now we have I. Now what happens here is that, okay, even if I go down and say var I is equal to 2, I still get 15, right? So what happened here is that there is an invisible initialization of this variable I. So this is what we mean by hosting. There's an invisible initialization of I. So even when you declared I equals to 10, you see if I highlight, you say variable I is a number. So there is an initialization for you here. So let or var can allow this, to happen. But if you use let and say let I be equals to this, let will yell at you, because the normal order of progression is that you first of all declare a variable and assign the value to the variable before using the variable. But this is the other way around. So if you are using let, or const, it will not allow you to do this. So let's see. So if I change this, if I send this var to let, it's gonna create an error. So let I equals to the C. So in the error part, it says reference error, cannot access I before initialization. So the normal order is that we need to initialize the I before we use it. So these are basically the difference between let, constant, and var. When do you use, and which one do you use and which one not to use? So the next video is how to work with these variables. Don't miss out on the next video. So pause this video, try out some things, try out some variables, and then come back for the next one. Okay guys, welcome back. And so today we're going to look at how to work with variables, and we are going to also look at standard operations and operators in JavaScript, and also mathematical shorthand for the operators. We'll also look at booleans, and we are going to look at how to use dates in JavaScript. So if you don't know any of this, or you know it but you don't really understand it, stay tuned and watch this video. Okay, so from my previous video, we talked about the different types of variables, how to assign values to variables. So I have commented out the previous code. So I'll also leave this code in the GitHub repository so that you can download them and play with them. Okay, so the first thing we need to look at in variables is how to assign values to variables. So we looked at the keyword let from the previous video. You can say let x equals 5. So it means that wherever I put x, it means there's a value stored in it as 5. Okay, so you can see let x is a number. So I could also declare another variable called y. I can say let y equals 6, right? And then I could declare another variable. So I could say let result equals to 5. Let result equals to x plus y. Okay, so what am I trying to do here? So having variables reduce the need to repeat the same thing. Okay, so instead of me writing 5 wherever I need 5, I could just use x. This is not visible here because 5 and x is just one letter. But when we have a long text, for instance, if you want to say first name and you say first name equals to divine, or you could say name of school, you could say the name of the school, which is a very long name. So whenever I want to use name, you don't need to repeat the length of the whole names, right? So this is why it's important to use variables and have values stored in them. It will help your reusability. Okay, this error still comes up. I fixed this error last time, but it has to do with something with extension. Okay, so if I want to print out the results, I could just do console.log, right? Console.log and results. So you see on the console, the result is 11. 5 plus 6, we have 5 stored in x and 6 stored in y. So this is just all you need to know about variables. Of course, you can also do something like this. You could do something and say, I'm going to comment this out. Let me use the other comment this out. So you could do this way, but this is not okay. We are having result is not defined because we are trying to print out result without defining it. So comment this out, Ctrl KC. So you could also say let a comma b comma c. So this means that we have initialized the variables a, b, c, and you can say a is equal to 5, right? A is equal to 5, b equals to 6, and then c equals to 7, right? And then you could just say result is equal to a plus b plus c. Okay, so if we print out the result again, what is happening here is that a is 5, 6, b is 6, and 7 is c. So that will be 11 plus 7, which is 18. So we are expecting to see 18 printed on the console, and then we run this, we have 18 on the console. So, but this method of declaration, I would not encourage this because the code is meant to be read by human beings, right? So, I mean, this declaration, I will not encourage this because of readability, and so other persons might not understand it, and you might miss something. So it is better to use this method of declaring your variables and initializing them. Okay, yeah, it's just one line difference, so it will not make your code any much heavier. Okay, so spare yourself the stress. All right, so I'm going to comment this out also. So we're going to look at the operators. Okay, so now result is not defined as usual, so comment this out. Now operators, so you could do a plus equal operation. Okay, so let's say I bring this part of the code here, and then on comment this, I remove the comment. Right, so remember that we said that x is equal to 5, so I could say that result is equal to x plus equals y. Yeah, so I could say that let x equals 5 and then let y equals 2, right? So I could say results, let's say results plus equals x. So this will not work because I did not initialize results, so I need to say let result equals 0. Okay, so result plus equals 0. And so when I print results, console log results, we have 5. What does this mean? This means our result here is 0, and then I'm saying plus equals x. So what I'm trying to say is this is a shorthand. What this means is result equals to results plus x. Remember that x is 5. So 0 plus 5 is equal to, oh, okay, this is 10 because of duplicate, you know. So result here at this point, result plus x, this is 5, right? 5 plus 5. So at this point, we have results is 0, 0 plus x, which is 5. So here is 5. So now you're now saying give me the next result, which is result 5 plus x, which is 5 plus the first 5. So that's 10. So that's why I have 10. But that's not what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was for it to print out 5. So I needed to comment this out. So this is how you even debug your stuff, to check each line and what to expect. So if you don't do this, this is also learning how to debug while learning how to program. Okay, so we see that result plus x is the same thing as result plus equals x. So this is important as a good shortcut. So I will be using semicolon in my courses, in my explanations for all the code. Of course, semicolon means end of line. For some programming languages, this is forgiven. So I meant for some programming languages, this is not forgiven. C#, Java, you must have an end of line semicolon, right? But for JavaScript, it's not compulsory. Okay, but you know, it's better you put all this an end of line to make your code readable. I'm not here to argue whether it is right or wrong, or why you should do it, why you should not do it, but for readability's sake and for convenience, it's better to put end of the line semicolon to your code. Now, if I did not initialize the result and I, let's say, comment out the result, so we're gonna get result is not defined, which means we did not define the result. And even worse still is if I try to do this, if I try to do the shortcut to the result, I'll comment this result plus equals x. Okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. Even worse still is when I just declare results and say I declare result without a value, without assigning a value. I say let result. Okay, there was no assignment of value, so now the type is any. There's no type. And then I try to add 5 to the result plus equals x. So we get NaN. So when you see NaN, it means not a number. So this is one error you should note, that probably your variable has not been assigned a value type. And of course, when you do plus equals, there is nothing like triple plus. Okay, we can do this. I've already initialized x, right? So let me comment this out. So I've initialized x undefined. What do we have undefined? Line 73. Okay, results. Okay, we get undefined because of this line of code. Okay, so that's how to initialize. And then there's another variable type that we can look at, and that variable type is called the boolean. Okay, we must know that, okay, I only use plus in this example, so you can also actually use operators like minus, or the mathematical operators division and then multiplication. So you can use all the operators that we have in maths for working with variables. And so we also have the booleans, right? The boolean has two values. It's either a true or a false value. Okay, so this is what the boolean is all about. It's either a true or false value. So let's look at an example. So we can toggle value of the boolean. You can toggle it from true to false or from false to true. So let's look at an example of what I mean and how you can use the boolean Yeah, so if you are following the tutorial so far, kindly leave me a comment so I could know if you are getting my explanation and if I need to improve on some things, yeah, while I deliver as much as I can. Okay, so if you want to do Boolean, we can do this way. Sorry about that. You can see let is alive equals true. Okay, let is alive equals true. And so if we print this out, what are we gonna get? We should expect console.log. We should expect that what we should get is alive. We should expect true because we have the variable true saved inside. Now if we want this to return false, there are possible ways we can do it. We can put the exclamation mark in front of the is alive. Okay, so this is the bank character. It is used to enforce flipping. So if the original value stored in the variable is alive is true, if you put the exclamation mark which indicate not, so it's going to flip the value that we stored in the variable. Okay, so these are some of the things we're going to use in this course as we progress. Now finally for this video, we are going to look at how to work with date time. So I'll comment this out. So if you have gained one or two things, please kindly like this video, subscribe and leave a comment. All right, so we are going to look at dates. How do dates work and how can we define dates? You know, so in the previous example I used let, like in my other video I also told you that it is 99% of the time you should use const, because you should only use let when you are very sure that these variables will change later in your application, but most of the time you use const. But for this example, because I have been changing the values of these variables, then I have to use the let. So now, and also if you notice that my naming convention, which is this, that means the first letter is small letter and then every other letter is capital. This is the camel case. This is the camel case. You also have other case like the snake case, the Pascal case, but for convention, JavaScript uses the camel case for its naming convention. And then you see that in the previous video, I also used single quotes in JavaScript. So this is because HTML uses double quotes, and for us not to step on toes, we use single quotes for our JavaScript. So this is just something you should know. And so for dates, so let's look at the best way to declare date. So we need to declare the date object. So the simple way, for instance, if you want to declare the birthday of someone, you could say let birthday equals to, we declare a new date. Okay, if you scroll down to your IntelliSense, you have this constructor. So a new date which will take in certain values, end with semicolon. Okay, so the first value it takes is the year, so we can say 1980. So we have the first value that the new date object takes is the year, and then we have the month. Assuming you want to pick January, but in programming the counting starts from 0. So instead of having 12 months, it's going to be, so instead of having 1 to 12 months to represent each of the months, we are going to have 0 to 11 months, 0 representing January. So we could have 1980, and the first value that comes after this is the month. So I want to indicate January, so I pick a 0 which indicates January. So if I want to pick February, the number will be 1. 0, 1, February, and the other months as the case may be. Then I select the day of the month, which is, I choose 15 in this case. So the other 4 values are the milliseconds, which are not so important, but there are 4 of them. So 0, 0. Okay, so this is how to initialize your date. So you want to give a birthday. So from here we can print birthday. Okay, and how do we print birthday? console.log, and then if we say birthday, what do we have? So you see Tuesday, January 15, 1980, 000. This we don't need. Okay, so now this might be too much for you, like you don't need the other zeros. You could get specific data, either the year or the month or the date, based on your need, right? So you could use functions to get this. So we could say console.log birthday, and then let's see dot. If you press dot, you will get different functions that you can use to retrieve. So let's say get full year, and what we have, okay, let's see function dot your IntelliSense will bring this. So let's say, oh yeah, supposed to be get UTC full year. No, but get UTC date. Oh, was I supposed to put this at the end? Okay. Okay, let's see. Function dot get UTC full year 1980. Okay, so console.log birthday dot get date. Okay, so we need to get date. We use the functions to get, so these functions we can look at in future, but I hope you are able to get an understanding on how we can use the dates. So in this video we talked on how to work with the basic variables. Of course, this is just fundamentals, the basics for you to build on. So don't spend the whole year trying to do with multiplication, minus, division. If you know how to do it one, then you should be able to know how to work with the rest. And then take time to go through this, try it out, and then come back for the next video. And if you have not subscribed, please kindly subscribe to encourage me. Like my presentation, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Your criticism, your corrections are also welcome. Please subscribe. Okay guys, welcome to the continuation of our course. And so today we are looking at arrays. We are looking at one of the very important tools in JavaScript, which is called arrays. Okay, it is spelled arrays. Okay, we are looking at arrays. And so you have to have a solid understanding of what array means and how it works. And so we're going to look at what is an array. Okay, and the easiest ways to define or explain what an array is to give an example. So if we define an array, let's say const, we use const, right? Let's say const countries to define the array object called countries. And so then you open a square bracket. Like we said in previous video, end of line, use semicolon, and then with the single quotes, we can then list the names of the countries we want to save in the country object. So I'm going to go with Germany. Then the second country separates the comma, and then I can say Gabon, right? And then I can say Nigeria. Remember, this is string, so we cover string with single quotes. Nigeria, I can see Niger, and then I can see other countries like France, right? And then I can say Italy, right? So what we just did here was that we are creating a list of countries and we are storing it into the country object. This is const, is how we define variables, right? It's a keyword we use to define variables. So if we want to print out or see what we have saved or stored inside the array countries, we can just log it to the console and say console.log, open bracket, and see countries. IntelliSense, end the line with semicolon. And so if you look at the console output, you see 6. We have 6 countries in country. If you click on the toggle button, you have Germany, Gabon, Nigeria, Niger, France, Italy, right? And the length of the array is 6, okay? The prototype array. So if you notice that the numbering starts from 0, which means array uses the 0 base counting. So in the previous video, we talked about dates. The months, 0 means January, February, 1 represents February. So you see that arrays also use the 0 base counting. So generally in programming, you use 0 base counting, especially when you want to when you are dealing with arrays. Okay, so another thing that we can do is, what if you want to refer to a particular country. You just want to print only one country out of the list. So it's quite simple. You use the index. If you know the index number, this is called the index number. You use the index of the countries you have here to find a country. So if I want to print Germany, I will just say console.log, okay, countries, then you put a square bracket and then you put the index number. So Germany here is in the 0 position, so the index number will be 0. Gabon is in number 1 position and the index will be 1, right? Nigeria is number 2, Niger is number 3, France is number 4, Italy is number 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want to print Germany, I put index of 0. So on my console, I should see Germany. If I want to print Nigeria, it should be Germany is 0, Gabon is 1, Nigeria is 2, index 2. So I put 2, right? So this is how to reference or how to find a particular element in the array, okay? So if we go back to seeing the list or the elements that we have in the array, you could see that we have 0 to 5. So you can only use 5. So what if I enter 6? What do we get? If I say countries, square bracket, and then 6, what do we have? So you get undefined. So we get undefined, which means that the 6th element in the array was not defined. Okay, so you have it. This is how we can access elements in the array, and when you want to access an element through an index that is not already initialized, you get this error. You get this error of undefined. Okay, so now how about when we want to add more countries to the list that we have? We want to add more elements. So it's quite easy. Keyword we use is push. So this push will now add a new element to the array. So let's say the array name is called countries.push. So which country do you want to add? I love Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo. So let's add Portugal. So if you add Portugal and then I uncomment this, that's console.log countries. So you see that we are having Portugal added to the end of the list, okay? And so if I need to add one more countries, let's say countries.push Guinea, let's say Guinea Republic. Okay, so let me add one more country, countries.push Ghana. One more, countries.push, okay, countries.push, let's say France. Oh, I forgot India. Okay, so we're gonna add countries.push. This is a manual means of adding to the array, but this will give you an understanding of how the array works. India, yeah, countries.push. When you practice this way, muscle memory helps you a lot. So let's see, Bangladesh. Okay, so you see now that I have 12 countries, right? And then the length is 12, but because of the numbering, we have 0 up to 12. So this is how you can add elements to the object country, which is your array. Okay, so now when you have added an element to an object, so the next question is, how would you remove them? So you will remove them basically by using the keyword pop. Okay, so now pop will remove the last element on the list. For instance, the last country that we have on the list here is what? Bangladesh. So when I say countries.pop, okay, these are methods that you use to perform certain operations. Push method, pop method. So these are methods that help you achieve your goal. So the pop method is used to what? To remove the last element in the array. So let's say now countries.pop. Then it has a open and close brackets, but in this pop method it does not take any arguments. Okay, so unlike the push method needs to take an argument. You need to take a value, which is what we used here. So if you say pop countries.pop, then if you notice that we are now, our output now has India as the last, meanwhile we have Bangladesh here before. Now sometimes this does not show you. You might not know. Sometimes you don't know if your object was removed. So you could actually print it to the console. You can say last countries. So I'm trying to create a variable now. So, but we need to give it a keyword. So let's say const last countries is equal to countries.pop, so that when I print to the console.log last countries, I should have Bangladesh on the screen. Okay, so this is how we can remove and we can store the countries that we have removed. So the next thing is, what if we know the name of the element in the array, but we do not know the index number? Of course, the example we look so far is so easy that you could see the index number, but what if you know, oh, I know that there is France in my array, but I do not know the index number. So how do you get the index number? Let me comment this out. Okay, so we can get the index number by using another keyword or another method called index of. Is camel casing index of. So let's say I want to get the index of France, right? So I can say console.log print to the screen console.log countries.index of. Now open and close brackets and then your single quotes and put France. So we have the index of number 4, which is actually the index of France. So if we do console.log and we print all the names of the countries, we are still going to get that. So we're still going to see that France is in the 4th index. Console.log countries, end line with semicolon. Okay, countries.log, oh, console.log, not countries.log. Okay, console.log. All right, so let's see what's the index of France, number 4. So you see, to get the index, you use the keyword index of. I believe this is clear so far. And so if, for instance, you enter a country that is not in the list, this can be used to search. Okay, they give you elements, okay, in an array, and they say find out if this element is there. So you could use index of to check if the element is there, find out if this element exists, or before you add a country to the list, find out if it exists. So you can check the index of. So if you enter a country that is not on the list, it's going to return -1, which means it does not exist. It is not on this list. So which country is not on the list? There was no Spain there. Or if you even have a typographical error and you do France with a small letter, we are going to get -1. So let me comment this out. So France console.log, so index of France -1, because programming is case sensitive. JavaScript is case sensitive, just like every other programming languages. Okay, so if you also say index of Spain, Spain was not listed in the element, so Spain -1. So index of helps you to know the index number of the element in the array, and if the element is not in that array, you get -1 as the output. Alles klar? I believe everything is fine so far. Now, we are going to learn other interesting stuff, and there are many things to learn in arrays, and I will recommend that you learn as you go, but there are still very key important things and things that are very powerful that I want to share. And the first of them is called the filter. Okay, filter is one powerful function that you can use. So for instance, I want to return the names of countries that start with G. Okay, so if you notice, I had to include countries: Germany, Gabon, Ghana, Guinea Republic. Okay, so it was because I want to use this filter function to return all the countries that start with G. Let me do the filter function, then I walk us through. Let's say const G countries, right, is equal to countries. So this is the country that I want to filter. I want to retrieve all the countries that start with G. So when you define the variable, I call the variable, you can name it. This variable, you can call it whatever I want. I call it G countries because I want to retrieve countries that start with G, right? So then here I'm saying, okay, from that array, I want to perform a particular function, which is called the filter. So I say countries dot what dot filter, IntelliSense countries dot filter. Okay, so if you see the filter, I say filter is array string dot filter. So the filter function is applied to an array string. Okay, so then we open and close bracket, so put a semicolon here, very important, end of line. What we want to do in the filter method, we create a function, so we call it function, and then this function will carry a variable. So we are dealing with G country, so I can say country. You can put anything here, any variable here, and then we have curly brackets. Press on enter to expand it. So I will now say for the countries of filter, I want to go through each element. That means each country, and then return any country that starts with G. So I would then say return the variable country dot start with. My IntelliSense is helping me to start with, and open your bracket, semicolon, let's say G. Okay, so if I now print console.log G countries, what do you have on the console? You see that it returned all the list of the countries that start with G. So we're going to look at how to define functions more and how to use them, but I feel it should be explanatory. We want to use the filter method to filter our country array, to go through each of the elements in the array and then select the countries that start with G. So I created a variable called G countries, which is a constant, and then what we do, we apply the filter method on our original array countries. Okay, our original array, our original array is countries, right? So then in the function, in the filter method, we create a function that has a variable. So this variable is standing for each element of the array. So it's going through each of the array and then checking it if it starts with G. It goes through each of the elements rather and checks if it starts with G. All right, so this is how we work with arrays, start with, and there's another method we can also look at. It's called substring. So substring is a method used with strings. So you could get a particular part of a string. For instance, if I want to only get in my output, I want to only get GER from Germany. I don't want to get the whole of Germany, or let's say Nigeria. I want to get NIG and not just Nigeria, and not just the whole Nigeria. So substring help you to extract parts of a string. Okay, for instance, you have substring, you could just extract sub from the substring. So that is the method substring. So let's see how the substring works. Okay, so remember that here, okay, constant last countries does pop, and if we pop this, okay, let me comment out this so we don't get -1. I want to see Bangladesh right on the screen, and let me comment out the G countries. Okay, so now Bangladesh. So this is countries or const last countries. So we printed out the last countries, and so we want to use the substring. So let's use substring. Console.log, we open the bracket and we say last countries dot substring. It brings you the IntelliSense. You click on tab, so substring, and then open your bracket and said, so where do we want to get it from? Bangla. So Bangla, we want to get only Bangla, not Bangladesh, or let's say Bang. So we say 0, 1, 2, 3. So which means we are starting from 0 up to 3. So what is it? Okay, so up to 4. If we need Bang, it will be from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So it excludes the 4th index. So you're starting from 0 up until 4, but excluding 4. I hope you get a gist. So you count up to 4, but you exclude 4. So it will be more like 0 to 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Or you can see the other way, like the first 4 letters, 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyhow you can see. So that is the substring Substring is very important and you can use it in a lot of places. So now we know how substring works. So we're going to create a new array using another method called map. Okay, so let's look at the map. So we're going to use the substring method that we use now to extract the first 3 letters from the countries and then print them out. So Germany will be GR, Nigeria will be NIG, Bangladesh will be BAN, India will be IND. So let's write the function. So we're going to say const first 3 letters is equal to the array that I want to work on, countries dot, we're going to be using map, right? So open and close the bracket, put your semicolon, go back into the bracket, tab, so that there'll be space for you to write in the function. So we call the keyword function. So this function is, we're going to create a variable that will do the iteration. So you can put any name here. I can put X, you can put Y. So but for readability, I'll just say country, function country. Okay, then I put the curly bracket and enter tab. So I want it to return the variable I just created, which is country. So this country means that one single element of the array, pick one single element and then iterate through the rest. So return country dot with this substring. So we need the first 3 letters, right? So that will be from 0 to 4. 0, 4. Are we right? So we need the first 3 letters. 0, 1, 2. So that will be 0 to 3. 0 to 3 will return the first 3 letters. Okay, so then let us print out the first 3 letters. So we do console log semicolon at the end and say, oh no, okay, and say first 3 letters. And there we have it. Let me comment out Bangladesh wherever you are. Okay, comment this out. So you see now that with substring we're able to extract the countries. We're able to extract the first 3 letters of all the countries, and we use substring and we use map. I beg your pardon. So we use map to do this. So it's time to practice. Pause and practice what you've learned. So this is the foundation. And you may say, no, I don't need this. I want to be a React developer, or I want to be an Angular developer. But you have to deal with arrays a lot. So here is the basics. Here is the fundamentals. Practice. So you should be able to practice 3 times the length of this video, so that you don't get stuck in the future. You want to, sometimes you feel like, oh, I understand this, and you did not really understand what was going on, and when you really need to use it, you have to go back again to the whole video. I'm telling you from experience, you have to go back again to the whole video and watch again. Okay, where did I miss this? Where was this? So if you take the time now to practice, you build your muscle memory. So when you are done practicing, come back for the next video. And of course, if you have not subscribed to my channel, kindly click the subscribe button. And if you like this video so far, hit the like button. And I also love to hear comments and feedback from you if you are following this course so far. Thank you guys, and thank you ladies also.